Welcome to Third Paradigm.
We are your hosts, Clarity and Nuance.
Third Paradigm is a digital third place, which is where people practice the art of conversation. The host and guests come from all backgrounds and different ways of thinking.
We here at Third Paradigm will discuss ideas and the facts of life with respect while pushing the envelope. Full disclaimer, hosts and guests will share their opinions. The opinions of our guests are strictly their own and do not represent the opinions of Third Paradigm.
However, when we, the hosts, share facts, we will back them up with evidence. If we are wrong, we will make it right as soon as possible because we believe in practicing integrity. Welcome to Third Paradigm. So, looks like we're back at it again. We had such a good session on National Fun at Work Day. I think we really dug in deep. But it deserved another episode to get a few more perspectives. So, ready for another round? Yeah, I really enjoyed that last conversation. So who do we have today as our guest?
It looks like we have 4 individuals coming on. We have Nikki, Scarlett, Mrs. Incredible, and Claire.
All right, well, welcome all. So I guess you came up with the icebreaker last time, so I guess I'll come up with the icebreaker. So, the question is going to be something a little controversial and a little odd, but what do you prefer to use to clean your wounds? Rubbing alcohol or hydrogen peroxide?
I would have to say rubbing alcohol.
Rubbing alcohol.
And when you... and who's speaking? When you speak, please please announce who you are so our viewers will know. And then why rubbing alcohol versus hydrogen peroxide?
My name is Nikki.
This is who? Oh, Nikki. Thank you.
Nikki. Yeah.
Yep.
I just feel like there's more germ cleaning power in rubbing alcohol.
That's a good point.
Open to the floor. Yeah.
That's a good response. Scarlett, do you have anything to weigh in?
I think Scarlett might not be here, maybe coming back. We'll let that part out. Anyone else want to jump in?
Hey, this is incredible. I definitely agree with that. So I'm going to go ahead and give it my stamp of approval. I think that it's probably also safer, especially if you have kids, than using hydrogen peroxide. But that's just my personal opinion. I could be 100% incorrect. But yeah.
Why do you think it's safer for kids?
So when I was a kid, my dad used to, like, when we would take our earrings out, he would make us leave them in hydrogen peroxide. And when we would put the earrings back in, it always felt super funky. But when we used rubbing alcohol, it didn't. So, it could just be the additional germ-fighting superpowers that it has. But my personal preference for just everyday use would be rubbing alcohol.
I see. Okay. All right, thank you. And we have...
I apologize. This is Scarlett. I was doing laundry.
okay.
I myself would say actually rubbing alcohol for the better part, mainly because of how much my family and I are outside. We're more of outdoor people, so rubbing alcohol is usually used on cuts, scrapes, anything like that, just to clear things out. But yeah, we use that more frequently than we do with the peroxide.
Okay. All right. And do we have one last person? No?
Looks like Claire might be having some problems with the link. So.
Okay, cool. All right. We'll get back to that later. What about you, Clarity? What would you use?
I probably would use rubbing alcohol personally. That's just me, because it feels like that would kill a lot more of the germs.
I see. So for me, I like rubbing alcohol, but my wife can't stand it because of how much it burns. She has sensitive skin and she just does not like the burning effects. And she feels like that hydrogen peroxide burns enough, so she uses hydrogen peroxide. So I just thought it'd be a really interesting thing where other people fall on this, because there's a divide in my house about what you use when you clean the room or something. So thank you all for playing along with the game. I know it's a little weird, but I was just like, I kind of wonder what everybody else thinks. So, alrighty. So with that, guess we can move on to the first question. Correct, Clarity? Oh wait, we got Claire back. Hello, Claire. Hello, Claire. I see her.
I think Claire's definitely still having some problems with that link. I don't know.
Oh, there we go. All right, Claire.
Claire. Yep.
Hey,
Claire.
Hey.
Good to have you back.
Sorry about that.
Alrighty. Technology. We had a icebreaker question. The question was, what do you prefer to clean rooms, rubbing alcohol or hydrogen peroxide?
Hydrogen peroxide.
Why? You are the only one here that uses hydrogen peroxide. Why?
Rubbing alcohol is fine. It cleans stuff really well, but I think my dad was a paramedic, so that was something that we always had hydrogen peroxide because it was it just works better.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, the icebreaker question came from me because there's a divide in my house. I like rubbing alcohol, but my wife prefers hydrogen peroxide. She feels it burns less, and it's just as clean. So I was like, all right, let's see where other people stand. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is a fun little experiment. So, all right, now that we've got that one going, let's talk about fun stuff. That's not painful.
What is our topic for today?
Topic is still National Fun at Work Day, being overworked and burned out, and what is fun and meaningful work. And I believe the first question goes to you, Clarity.
Yep. So how this is going to work, so as we said on all of our episodes, we're actually going to try out something new today. So when I ask a question, as usual, every question is about 5 minutes in total. So that means it's not 5 minutes per person, it's 5 minutes in total to answer. We're going to direct the question individually to one of you, and then we will keep it open to the floor, and you're welcome to jump in with the remaining few minutes left. When we get close to the 5-minute marker, I'm going to ring a gong, a little tiny gong, and we're going to try that out and see how that plays out as well. And please respect, as a ground rules, please respect each other, no name calling, any of that. And also when you answer a question, please use your name first, and that way our listeners know who is speaking. And with that being said, is everyone ready to go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so question number one for the National Fun at Work Day theme. So what was your experience in relationship to work and your work life pre-2020, the coronavirus pandemic? And let's start this one with Nikki.
What was my work life like?
Yeah, what was your work and your work life like pre-2020?
Maskless. Maskless, loveless. Goodness. Other than that, if I had to think about it, 2019, I was definitely working more hours than I was in 2020 because sales are down for sure. But other than that, just not too much different, really.
Oh, very cool.
Less hours, or more hours, I should say, sorry.
More hours.
You work in sales?
No. I mean, our company, obviously runs off sales, and
depending on if it's really busy, like if there's a lot of sales, and a lot of people tend to go on overtime, but that really hasn't been happening this year compared to last year.
Okay. You don't have to necessarily say like what company, but like what does the company do in particular?
We are a solar mount technology company that makes like LED lights, like LED fixtures.
Okay.
I'm a bookkeeper, and I also manage our finished good inventory.
Okay. Yep. Totally understand. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I can see not a lot of money going around to buy things that have LED lights in it because it's kind of expensive. So people got bills to pay. So I definitely could understand that. Okay. Definitely. All right. How about Claire?
So for me, I guess, pre-2020, I was working full-time as bakery manager in Michigan at Westman Market. And yeah, so I was working I was working 45 hours a week, doing a lot of running around. I would sometimes even go in between the stores and work at different ones. Like we had multiple locations. So yeah, I feel like I was super, super busy, but, as of 2020, and a little bit into 2019, I had actually moved to the UK, and because of the type of visa I'm on, I'm allowed to work. So it's just been kind of like a very, very stark and abrupt stoppage of going full steam ahead and working crazy hours and the holidays and working in a bakery. It was pretty intense, but yeah, now it's nothing.
Oh wow! Well, thank you for sharing. So
yeah,
we'll leave it open to the floor. Looks like we got Mrs. Incredible and Scarlett left. Whoever would like to take the floor, we got about 2 minutes left on the question.
Mrs. Incredible, I'll talk. So previous to 2020, I was working in the financial industry. I was actually a manager handling clients worth $10 million or more in a physical building, working for one of the largest banks in the world in their corporate office. And it was, it was busy, but actually I've been busier now. I'm currently working 2 work-from-home jobs. One of the businesses that I work for is I'm an automotive company. It's like accessories, things like that for automobiles, and business is booming. We actually did mass hiring of 100 plus people. And the other company that I work for is a furniture and accessories company. They're all over the world. The automobile company is not, it's just in the US. But the second company is actually they're not founded in the United States, but they're one of the largest furniture and accessory companies in the world. And we just had a new hire class of 150. So I'd say I'm busier now rather than I was last year, 100%.
Oh, wow. Thank you. And last person we have is Scarlett, correct? Or Nikki?
Yep. Yep, Scarlett.
Scarlett, okay.
So pre-COVID, I myself actually work in a call center. I work in telecommunications. So we actually were working in an actual call center building, but as of last year, 2020, we all ended up going to working remotely. Now, this actually has been beneficial for me since I am technically right now a single parent with a autistic child. So that was kind of a run for my money. And it's been interesting, but I also went from working 40 hours a week almost to doubling to
anywhere between 60 to 80 hours a week just because of how many calls have been coming in for telecommunications, meaning we run everything from home phone service to cable to internet service. So it has definitely been an interesting ride.
Wow. So thank you all for your sharing your work-life experience. It seems like a lot of people predicted those who are working from home, really that whole business is booming, and then everything else that's in person is kind of slowing down. So it's interesting to hear some people, are just kind of, staying home and kind of chilling out, and some people are busier than ever. Very interesting.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing your experiences. It's amazing how much a stark difference ends up happening between 2019 and 2020.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
All right, so we'll move to question number 2. Question number 2 says, Generation X, Y, and Z, specifically, who are known as millennials, have been known to be the burnout generation and completely overworked in the United States and around the world before the pandemic. What do you believe were the factors that led to this for young people? And I'll start Miss Incredible.
So I will definitely say that having the experience of having in-laws that don't necessarily understand technology as great as people who are a bit younger than them, and because we're so adaptable, I don't definitely say as the generations as we get younger, and as in population on the earth, we're more adaptable to different situations. So, for example, I'm working 2 jobs, sometimes at the same time, and in all honesty, probably making over $7,000 a month working those 2 jobs. But I'm also, I have 2 kids. I have a 6-year-old that's autistic, and I have a 3-year-old, and life is hectic. So, but I'm willing to do that, and my husband works from home as well, because we want a future that's better than maybe the future or the past that we had as kids. So, we're very hard workers, but it's because we've become so prone to knowing that we need to fight or work harder than people who came before us to have a better future. I'll say that.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, that's definitely true. When you look at economic studies, they've noticed that the big factor was the late 1970s, but especially in the 80s and 90s economic booms. And right around those times is when we started seeing the stark difference between the previous generations and the younger generations when it comes to that wealth gap. So, absolutely. Thank you.
So same question to Nikki.
The burnout generation. If I had to put my opinion in it, I would have to say maybe because of wages. I know that when I've worked at jobs where I wasn't getting paid enough and I wasn't being appreciated enough, I got burned out quick. So if I had to say, yeah, that's pretty much my opinion on that. Just maybe wages, maybe just not being appreciated, can burn somebody out real quick.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I've experienced that working different jobs with wages. And the funny thing is that we're coming up on Dr. King's holiday. One of the things he talked about was basically the beginnings of the gap between wages and production. And right before he died and right after he died in 1968, they were neck and neck. They were crossing. Ever since then, without accounting for inflation, production in the U.S., no one works harder than the American worker producing things, but the wages have been stagnant. If we really looked at what the wage would be according to Public Citizen, and you can go on their website, the actual wage should be $24 an hour based upon what we produced. And so people are fighting for $15 minimum wage. But if you go by production,
that's what the wage should be. And if you are unappreciated and you're not being treated well, and you cannot, unionize and do collective bargaining for your rights, that will burn somebody out. So those are factors that have been very well documented. So thank you for that input. This question is open to the floor.
Yeah, it's clear here. I guess I'll weigh in a little bit because I pretty much was going to say almost verbatim, aside from, just what you said with, we haven't accounted for inflation. Our generation works just as hard, if not harder, than our parents, but our dollar is worth less. We get paid, starting wages for us might sound like a lot more than our parents because, they were making $3.75 an hour when we were making, $10 an hour, maybe, if that, starting out. I mean, when I started, it was like, I don't know, like $6.30 or something like that. But even still, it doesn't count for the same amount, with inflation and all that. And the saddest bit is that, like how you mentioned, we're fighting for a $15 minimum wage, and it should be even higher than that. It should be at like maybe 24. But the saddest part is that we started fighting for a $15 minimum wage 5 years ago, and it still hasn't happened. You see maybe some regular, like some of the larger corporations, like McDonald's or, Amazon or any of the other like larger companies will sometimes start out with slightly higher wages of like, $10, $50, $11 an hour, but it's not really much more than that,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we're expected to work, longer hours than our parents did. They were able to have full weekends, and they weren't expected to work past 5 p.m. As a millennial starting out in the job industry, it doesn't matter if it's, just an entry-level position, you're still expected to work nights and weekends. You're expected to work those long hours because you're young, you don't have anything tying you down, right? You can handle it. You can't say you're tired. You're young. And I think that kind of perspective, especially from bosses being older, is a lot harder to deal with.
Well, thank you for that.
I just wish we could fight for more.
Right, yeah.
I really do, because minimum wage, it means that we can pay for rent, food, and everything we need, but the federal minimum wage hasn't really raised in years.
Right.
Exactly what you're saying.
Somebody making $8 an hour, they can't afford anything.
Right.
No. And the public fight was 5 years ago, but people, before they got the publicity, they've been fighting it actually 10 years ago, according to certain circles and certain activist circles. But thank you all for that input. We're going to move on to the next question. Clarity, you got question number 3.
Yep. So question number 3. COVID-19 has changed the way people fulfill their day jobs, with everything from safety measures to the kind of work that is seen as essential and non-essential. How should society and governments democratize power in the workplace going forward and value production in one's own country? And I'm going to start this one off with Scarlett.
Ooh, that's a hard one.
Welcome to Third Paradigm.
I guess to be honest, it really kind of just depends. It depends on the situation at hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. What kind of situations would you compare?
I guess I just have to think, because I think I may need to have you actually rephrase it for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Nuance, how would you describe this question exactly? Because democratized power in the workplace moving forward and the value, making it more like a level playing field?
Yeah, democratizing power is like, okay, you have a corporation, right? Well, the corporation usually has people who just focus on the numbers, people who are called the professional managerial class, people who went to college, got the degrees, and focus on managing people. And there are people who go to college that work on the front lines or work or have worked their way through being an entry-level person. So do you have people who know how to make things work and get things done that actually do the nitty-gritty details? Are they on the board of these major corporations? Or maybe say you have a small business and it's like a restaurant and somebody's about to retire or they may be sick or pass away, sadly. To keep that business going, to keep the tax dollar revenue there, do you teach the workers how to have ownership in the company while still the person who runs it and manages it, taking those risks, secures everybody's money and they get paid a little more, but it's a little more fair to where it's not supremely more, like in CEOs paying less taxes than secretaries in a sense. And that way the tax dollars in that community stays there. So even if people move on, you could kind of transition and still exist. So the workers own parts of the company. And then valuing one's own production is like how we didn't have enough masks and gloves when we had a pandemic because we got stuff from outside the country. Like, countries should be able to do that for themselves. That's how
that makes a lot more sense for me. So to answer that question there for you, now that I have a better idea, now it does really kind of depend on the company itself. Now I say this because, well, for example, here I worked for Home Depot. I essentially worked my butt off I worked my way up into like a managerial position. And every time that, I would turn around, I would just continue practicing. The managers knew me. I was what you would call like a shadow department head. When the department head wasn't there, they would rely on me, knowing that I knew the ins and outs of that department. They would rely on me to handle things. And from there, it ultimately ended up where there were a couple times I tried for department head, and I was told that I had the position. And 2 days later, they retracted it, called me to the office and said they were going to give it to another department head that just decided to transfer over to the store. After that, I essentially was done with Home Depot. I said, I'm done. You guys, did this to me multiple times, and then gave me a position, retracted, and gave it to someone else who already had that same position. And then I ended up going over to the company that I'm currently with now, which I cannot give out due to constraints is the best way I can put it, because I work in telecommunications. But now I'm getting paid a lot more. It's still not enough, but I essentially have been given, as a senior agent now, I've been there for quite a few years, that I essentially have made headway where the supervisors essentially know that if I say something, I'm going to follow through with it. And it's not the first time where the supervisors will actually call me like, all right, can you handle this customer? I know that you know what you're doing. I trust your judgment. So it just kind of really depends. It's not the first time where I've been asked to also train new agents as well. So it kind of depends on the company and what they think you're worth.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for that input. And next we'll go to Claire.
Yeah. So kind of along the lines of what Mrs. Incredible, is that who's just speaking? I think, personally, I think it's, there's a lot of major companies like to dangle the carrot and keep people on as a sense, like giving them a sense of loyalty, and like you want to stand by the company for doing that for you. But I think, personally, I think a lot of it has to do more, for me personally, with what I've experienced is just the it's a lot of people are undervalued, and I guess in relation to COVID and, you know, companies being able to provide PPE, you know, I'm in a country currently where we have like the national healthcare system. So, you know, those things were rolled out and sent out and pretty evenly laid for everyone. You know, anyone on the front lines were given the right amount of PPE to keep themselves safe, because there was this feeling of, you know, helping for the greater good. You know, you think of, like, you know, that's kind of what the universal healthcare system would be like. You know, it's you pay into it because it's for everyone, not, you know, just the single payer. But I guess, I mean, as she said, it depends, but I think it's harder for bigger companies to see the little guy and, like, what their day-to-day activities are. Like, a lot of people go to school for the, you know, the big jobs and they're heads of the departments, but, like, when you're in a retail setting, like, the people that are, you know, maybe in your HR department, they're in an office, they're not necessarily seeing, like, the types of interactions that you're having face-to-face with the customers. So preparing them for that, I think, is kind of hard. I think there's got to be a communication from the bottom up more.
Thank you. That was a wonderful answer. And this is open to the floor for anybody else in the last 30 seconds.
Yep, we got about 30 seconds left. I reset the clock on this one. All right, looks like we're going to move on to question number 4.
Yep, that's for you, Clarity.
Okay. Let's see. So number 4. So how can we make...
Was it for me? Huh?
Was
it for me, actually?
I think that was for you.
Oh, my apologies. All right, so this is...
I can read it if you want.
No, I remember. I actually ended up explaining number 3, so that's why I was confused. Number 4. So how can we help people have a fair and balanced work life? Not a more fair, but an actual fair and balanced work life, like the right thing. And how can we help people find work that is enjoyable and meaningful, i.e., finding a way for you to work in order to live rather than living to work, or instead of seeing that time is money, it's rather that money is time. Flipping that paradigm. So we'll go to Nikki.
I think that I believe that individual would have to have an understanding of their passions and what they really want to do, to get into what they want to.
It's pretty tricky.
It is pretty tricky, but I think you're hitting the nail.
Yeah.
Like work that is meaningful, like something they want to do. Like I heard the question. Well, that's actually going to be a later question, but yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because a lot of work is not valued based on what people enjoy, I guess.
Right. It's basically like, oh, this is the only thing that's available for me to do. Or it's, like, I don't have enough education, so this is where I'm stuck.
Right. Well, that is a really good one. Stuck. I like that. Okay. Thank you. Miss Scarlett, what do you think?
Honestly, it's hard to describe, but the best way I can put it is really when you're trying to balance work and things that you enjoy. The problem today, kind of coming off of me personally, because I work so many hours on top of trying to be a mom to an autistic child, it's really, really difficult to do so because of everything that's happening. But personally, for me, as I'm using my social media handle here today, but most of my social media stuff is mostly being a content creator. I do that when I have the chance, but like I said, that's kind of what I do to try to relieve my own stress. That's kind of what I do, but it really kind of just depends on every individual person and what their enjoyments are.
Excellent view. Very, very excellent.
Yeah, thank you. And I think we got a bit more time on this question. This is incredible. You have some input on this?
So I definitely do. Being that I am in senior leadership in one of the positions I have, I am trying to find that work-life balance being a salaried exempt employee. So sometimes I just have to turn my phone off because they can honestly contact you at any time of the day. But I will say, as someone who tries to instill in my staff that they need that work-life balance, I'm trying to fight it by being in the meetings with senior leadership and expressing the need for, better wages, for, just to make the workplace a fun place to work, which I know sounds crazy to some people, but like we do fun contests, I think that some people or some managers or some organizations, they're all about, coaching people out of the business, or, I think we've all been there. Kind of tying it back to a previous question where they dangled the carrot in front of you. I worked for a financial institution that did that. That's why I left, because I wasn't going to kiss anyone's behind to get where I wanted to get. I thought it would be based on performance, and it wasn't. So I was like, you know what? Let me find a place that does value me. But I think that when you are in a place of power, where you are in the meetings with the people that make the rules and decisions, you need to stand up, or at least that's what I've been doing. To make sure that people are coming in with better wages, that they have more, benefits for like employee assistance. So for people who are like single parents who need like daycare, even though they're working from home, they have that where, now the organization will give a single parent, or even someone who has two kids, or two parents rather, a stipend every month to help with childcare. So if someone's not there and saying something and everyone's going to stay quiet, nothing's going to change. Should it be common sense that they're offered all of these things? Yes. But are these organizations, whether they're big or small, going to try to give minimal things because they are getting away with it until someone stands up and says something? Yes. So, and not just from my personal experience and my honest opinion. So yeah. That's basically it. That's what I have to say on the subject.
Wow. Seconds left on that one. That was very insightful. Thank you for sharing that.
I think we got Claire left. Do you have anything to add?
So I'll jump in. I guess the only other thing that I would say, I guess, is like enjoyment is in the eye of the beholder. So it really depends. It really is up to the individual as to whether they want to enjoy their job. I think we have to take a little bit of like kind of looking inward and taking yourself like, okay, am I willing to suffer through this, or am I not willing to suffer through this? Like I've enjoyed a job where it was, it paid maybe $9 an hour, and I was never going to be able to like afford to live on my own with that, but it was one of my favorite jobs I ever had. Even if I did work really good, like long hours, it was, at a vintage shop, and it was, a retail type position in a really small store. So they couldn't necessarily, they didn't have the means to support careers, So I think, yeah, it's just a matter of like, whether what you deem as enjoyment.
Absolutely.
Is it the money, or is it the enjoyment of just the job itself, or is it what the job gives to you in this sense?
Absolutely. Thank you for that insight. In all honesty, we shouldn't have to make those type of choices, but that is a good point, though, that people will make those type of choices because of the enjoyment of the job, or whether it's just something that make ends meet. All right, so question number 5. Clarity, what you got?
Yeah, and I'm just going to throw this out on the side before we move, because we have 2 questions left, and then we were wrapping it up. Somebody mentioned in a past episode, and I'm just going to reiterate it again because it's something that I really admire, like going back to what Nikki mentioned about finding that passion, and I've heard different various versions with the answers here about it. I would love to live in a world where university is free because we all pay for that, and they have the option to go and get that degree, or they can go into the skills trades, or they can choose whichever route they want to take. I think it goes back to an episode, I think it was the first part of this, actually, where we touched on school, because we actually had a professor on the show. So I just want to throw that out there, that I very much admire that, and I agree. If there's a passion behind something, it won't feel so dragging. But I would love to live where people don't get stuck with the question of, should I go to college but then go into debt, or should I just go off and get this thing that's more secure, but I'm going to be miserable? So
yeah, I agree with you. I wish the university was free. Like right now, I'm a bookkeeper at my job, but I didn't have any experience with bookkeeping at all previous.
Absolutely.
I just kind of worked my way into that position in my company, but you know, I would love to go to school to learn more about it, just so I have a better understanding of what I'm doing, because like I feel like school would give me that, but I don't want to go in debt.
Absolutely.
I'm already dealing with debt from when I went to school like 10 years ago, like 12 years ago, and I'm still paying that off. So like, I just don't want to put myself in that position, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Americans don't either, or anybody else. Like, I don't know how it is in Europe or how expensive it is there, but I know here it's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it is insane. So, but thank you for weighing in on that one.
It's pretty affordable. Not the most affordable. It's still, you still have to pay for it, but it's not nearly. It's not the astronomical. It's probably a fraction, a smaller fraction of the price in Europe, at least from my understanding. Most places it's anywhere from like a few grand to like several, but not in the 10, 15, 30 grand a year, like not.
I think we really should have an episode nuance completely on education, and there's an episode I've been throwing out there inviting people from other countries to kind of weigh in on that. So that would
yeah, because what you're talking about reminds me of the history of what we used to do in this country when tuition was subsidized by the federal government and the state government, but they decided to invest in Medicare, which was necessary, but also private prisons. So. But like I said, that
episode. We'll invite everyone back for that one, because I know education is a very, very hot topic. So second to the last question we have is, to quote Brianna Joy Gray from a recent episode from the Bad Faith podcast, the episode Star Trek versus Star Wars. If you did not have to work, what would you be doing? And I'm going to throw this towards Mrs. Incredible.
So, in all honesty, I think I would have like a farm and a garden, and my husband he could just train horses, and like I could just sing and just enjoy life. I don't think I would do anything like incredibly particular. I think I would maybe homeschool my daughter and focus so much on her education to prepare her for life a bit more, versus sending her to public school, which is a train wreck in itself. But I think that I would be more inclined, and don't get me wrong, working from home, I can definitely travel. We were in Georgia one weekend and I was working. We were in Tennessee in the mountains in an RV, and I was working from the RV. So it's not that I can't travel, but I think I would travel a bit more, of course, after hopefully, once things die down and everyone, there's more freedom to go places. We have the ability to, and it's safe to. I'd like to travel more, but I think that I wouldn't do one thing specifically. I'm not artistic. Well, I'm not artistic in a sense that I can't like draw or paint, but like vocally, I'm artistic. If that makes any sense. So I think I would just enjoy life in general and not do one thing in particular.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And I love the travel part. I'm very big on travel too. So thank you. Scarlett.
So definitely if I didn't really have to worry about a job or had the means of doing so, I personally would want to definitely spend a lot more time working with my son, just because there are a lot of things that I know for a fact he's probably going to have difficulty understanding, and just having that capability of being able to help him learn in a way that's going to benefit him. But I also would want to really work a lot more on my own social media platforms, since surprisingly, I haven't heard anyone say it yet, but I myself am a cosplayer. My TikTok creator channel is exclusive for all of my cosplay stuff.
Legit.
But if I had that capability, I would be doing a lot more of my own content, being able to tell stories with my original OC characters, being able to also build a lot more cosplay stuff for my own accounts.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We actually do have about 3 minutes left on this question, so it's pretty open for the floor. If Nikki or Claire would like to jump in.
I guess I'll jump in. It's kind of weird because I have kind of, it's been like a forced unemployment currently. So it's one of those weird things of like, I feel like, had you asked me this like a year and a half ago, I would have been like, oh yeah, these are all the things I'm going to do because I'm unemployed. And like, but it's also like a fear too, because I'm not making money. So I'm, scrambling to find ways to like contribute, because it is a financial strain not being able to work. And so I don't know. I mean, like short of like just selling stuff on eBay, and you kind of run out of stuff at a certain point, so it doesn't really work for a sustainable income. So I think it's, for me it would be more of like if I didn't have to worry so much about income, because that is a stress for me. I think it would definitely be woodworking. I've been doing a lot of that over like quarantine, because I have to stay at because you have to stay at home base. I wish I had a backyard like I did in Michigan. That was really nice to like garden and stuff. But yeah, I think just getting out and traveling, as other people said, would definitely be really high on the list. I think that's the thing that I've missed probably the most, aside from seeing family and friends. That's the thing that I've definitely missed the most over the last year. But yeah, I think, not being allowed to work is definitely a little bit different than, choosing it. I feel like I need purpose. So having something to work for is definitely, I kind of need that motivation to like keep a regimented schedule and like not let myself just like, get lost in social media or lost like in the scroll, as it were. But yeah, I think I don't know. And also, I mean, I don't know, probably would have written more or tried to develop that more. Like if there was no boundaries in terms of like going to school for things or learning new things that would, normally cost money to learn, I think I would definitely be taking more classes, or just, listening to lectures, or even like taking more art classes.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing in. We have about 30 seconds left. So Nikki, would you like to weigh in?
Yeah, for sure. I would love to travel a bunch. Also, if I had the money, like I would buy stuff for like a pottery, like making pottery, because I took some classes right before COVID happened, and it's just something that I was really starting to get into, and something I would love to learn more, and then possibly even learn to sell stuff. I know my husband and I have recently started making like acrylic
not acrylic, but like resin dice, like VNDII dice, which has been fun. We just finished making our first D20s. Definitely getting more into that and learning how to sell that. That'll be cool.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for weighing in on that. And I just wanted to point out an observation before we hit the last question. I admire everyone's responses. And one thing that I noticed that everyone's weigh-in had like in common was something that was relaxing and something that was creative. I really admire that.
It was also personal.
It's very personal.
And that's a theory in sociology about how we commodified everything so much to where we're disconnected from the very thing that we're doing. And that is what led to the society we have today. While in the ancient world, when you made stuff, when you knitted stuff, it was actually for you, your family, or someone you know. Then maybe somebody you didn't know, you did it for them, but still you kind of had a connection in the process. And now it's just like, who are you doing this for?
Beautiful. So thank you, everyone, for weighing in on that one. So, NEREUS, we got the last question.
Yeah. So, yes, and I loved all those answers as well. They're very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
The last question is, describe your feelings of sharing your perspective today and name one thing someone else said that touched you. And we'll start with Claire.
Yeah, I think the thing that really, maybe not touched me, but it definitely hit me more is like, you know, listening to other people talking about, you know, specifically situations like, can't remember whose name it was, but who like working from home with not only kids, but like having an autistic child. Like, I mean, you know, you think you know what other people are going through, especially with, you know, being so social media heavy as we are now. Like, you think you can kind of get a glimpse of like what everyday life kind of looks like, but hearing it and letting people share the space to like talk about those things is like one of the things that I really admire about the podcast. And so like being able to hear that perspective it's really, you know, it's something that really hits me, and I think about it a lot. I really, you know, I feel for a lot of people right now, like the balance of, you know, I have a close friend who also has, you know, 3 kids at home, one of them being autistic, and like, you know, and she's been working from home quite a bit, and it's just, you know, hearing it and knowing that like it's been so hard. And so, you know, I really wish that there could be like a work balance, fun, you know, lifestyle where you could like, you know, I don't know, get a break every once in a while. And that wasn't like, and that was, you know, a normal thing, you know, or, you know, being able to travel, being more accessible for families with kids like that. I think that's a huge thing. You know, I don't know a single person that's like, no, I don't want to travel. I don't know anybody that has said that they don't like to travel. So making it more accessible for those people to be able to, I think is like a huge, huge thing, especially when it comes to work balance and like and not living to work, but just working, you know, working so that you can live that life.
Beautiful response. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for that response. I really appreciate that response. And how about Miss Incredible? What was one thing, how did you feel about sharing, and what was one thing someone said that touched you?
So I am the one who has the 6-year-old that's autistic. I will definitely say that, you know, she's in first grade, and it took a very long time for her to get okay and accustomed to going to school, a physical school. So I don't think that everyone who, you know, has the, you know, has the, I'm not sure what I'm looking to say, but people who don't have children that are special don't necessarily see some of those struggles. She's now thriving in virtual school. And I mean thriving like straight A's, wakes up every morning very excited, but it's a pattern that she was accustomed to doing. So with her, she has Asperger's, and it's all about, you know, she's got a schedule every day. She goes to bed at a certain time, and everything is fine. You know, and especially with working 2 jobs now, when I was normally 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, now my schedule can differ. So there are different struggles that I now go through. So I think hearing everyone else's, life and passions is super insightful and super touching. And I think that there are less spaces now because we're all remote and not in physical, buildings where people could talk between calls and coaching sessions and whatnot, to be able to express how we all feel, how we're doing. Not everyone's doing okay, and it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to know that not everyone, no one else is doing okay either. So getting to hear personal stories makes you feel more human. It connects to you better. So that's basically it. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And we'll go to Ms. Scarlett. How did you feel about sharing perspectives, and what was one thing that someone said that touched you today?
So I actually really enjoy the conversation, kind of hearing from everybody's different perspectives. The one thing that actually kind of touched me a little bit was hearing how many people that COVID actually has affected, especially with parents like myself with an autistic child, just because of the fact that we have a completely different set of rules and regulations that we have to abide by because our kids are lured differently. So it's nice to know that I'm not the only one. The other thing too, though, is even though we can't necessarily travel that much, the one thing that I loved though with TikTok was I have met some amazing friends that I essentially am friends with people from Canada, from Europe, from all over the place. And it, unfortunately, as I think it was Miss Incredible that stated it, but even it'd be nice if we were capable of being able to travel, but unfortunately the funds just aren't there. But yes, it's nice to hear that I'm not the only one.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And in the last bit of time, it's Nikki. How did you feel about sharing your perspective, and maybe at least one thing that touched you from someone speaking?
It was fun. It was fun and interesting to see where everybody is coming from, especially, we all come from different backgrounds, as far as career, as far as our income and having kids versus not having kids. I definitely feel for you parents out there right now with having the pandemic and then having to, either send your child to school with masks and everything, or having to teach them from home, especially with the child with Asperger's. That must be extra rough. But you said it was it's better for her, which is good. But excuse me, me not having kids, I don't understand fully, but I definitely feel and understand, feel for you guys, and hopefully things will get better soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for everyone for weighing in, and thank you so much for taking the time out and chatting with us here on Third Paradigm.
Yeah.
We deeply appreciate everybody's perspectives and views. And
learned a lot.
It kind of shows, and I heard the message at the end of that I really feel correct me if I'm wrong, Nuance, I really feel like podcasts like this need to exist, because it kind of breaks down that isolation that we felt throughout most of last year. Humans are not naturally meant to be isolated. It's just not the way humans work, and that's not the way they function. And even friends of mine who are absolute introverts, they do not like being around crowds and people, they reached their limits last year. They got to the point to where it's just kind of like they missed just even going to get coffee with someone. And it really does feel like we've taken a lot of that for granted, and now it's just kind of like we can appreciate it more.
Yeah, and I appreciate the fact that so many people from different perspectives shows the commonalities we do have. I mean, we acknowledge the difference. We got people from different work backgrounds, different experiences, but it's like once you acknowledge those, you can really, and appreciate those differences too, then it doesn't mean you can't appreciate the commonalities. You actually can appreciate them more. And I remember someone said that, you know, there should be a stipend for taking care of kids, you know, because that is expensive. I'm hearing that more and more, and that it be common sense. My rebuttal to that is, we do have common sense, and it's a bunch of nonsense, unfortunately. So I like good sense, both common and uncommon sense. So, but that type of good sense policy would be a great idea. I think everybody would be better off when you have, when children and families are a public good, as they say. We'll be a better society for it. So thank you, everybody, for participating, and we will see you all next time.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.